This is a short video describing how I am attempting to rivet the hornblocks onto the bogie frame. I thought I'd put this together because I couldn't see anything on the rivets YouTube. Are soft iron, 1/16 of an inch diameter. I've already riveted the right hand side, and the left hand side, as you can see here, is now waiting to be riveted. I've countersunk the holes into the bogie frame. I think I've actually made them a bit too deep, the countersinks, so my rivets are fairly tall. I'll try and just show you that. But what I did, and at first I had real problems with the rivets just bending over and I couldn't properly rivet them. So I've made a little tool, very, very simple, just to make the initial hit on the rivet. In order to I'll show you that in a second. Hold the rivet while I'm riveting it and hammering it, I made just a bit of scrap brass, I think it is, and put a very small dome on the top of it, as you can see there, and the rivet head just sits in there and it doesn't damage it. Without doing that, I found that the rivet, because it's only soft iron, the rivet head soon got distorted. This is the tool I've used just to start the rivet off. It's just a sort of small round bar with a hole the size of the rivet in one end and a slightly different depth hole in the other end. So in order to rivet, okay, so to start riveting, I've positioned the rivet above my little brass former. Now I'm going to make the initial blows to bring this down. Just checking to see whether or not it's bending. I've turned it over now and I can hit it a little bit more. It's just bent a little bit, I could feel it there. So I'm just very gently just making these initial blows. Easing this down. Right, that's about as much as I can do with this tool. Now I'm using a punch. I found the punch easier, mainly because I'm not very good at hammering, and if I hammered it, I found that I was hitting the frame rather than the rivet. So very gently, just easing that down. So, and I'll just do a little close-up now to show you how that is. Okay, you can just see forming the rivet now starting to be formed here, and I'm starting to feel the hole. You can't really see it from the video, but it's still slightly proud, and you can also see the countersink is around it, so there's still quite a bit to be filled in by the rivet there. If I just try and angle that, you may be able to see that it is just still slightly proud. Okay, I've now switched over to a slightly smaller diameter punch, and I'm just finishing off, hammering that down, and just checking to make sure that the countersink is filled. By slightly angling the punch, I can move material from one side of the hole, one side of the rivet, across to where I need it. You don't hit it very hard, well I don't, but just gradually easing that across. That's getting pretty close now, and it's nearly filled the hole. And the final thing I do is just go over with a big punch again. As that seems to just smooth it all out. I think I've just got a very slight bit more to do over that. Okay, and there is the rivet flush with the frame. The final thing to do once I've riveted all the rest will then just be to get a file and file that off. So I'll show you that a little later on. There are all the rivets now riveted and all that needs to happen is now to clean that up. So I'm going to do that with a file and some emery paper, and we'll see what it looks like in the end. So just gently filing this and trying to keep the file fairly flat so I don't take too much off the frames. It's quite difficult once you get down close to the level of the frames. And what you start to see as the head of the rivet comes flush with the frame, you start to see the rivet effectively disappear. Okay, so there's the filing completed, and you can't really see the rivets now. There are a couple of very tiny indentations around here where I happen to hit the frame with the punch, but really very little. And for comparison, that's the other side, which hasn't yet been filed. There is the finished article. I've still yet to do this side, but the horn block is now riveted in place. And what I've learned from this is definitely be really careful about how deep you make the countersink. I've definitely made the countersinks too big on mine, so if I ever do this in the future, and I have got some more to do on the main frame, I will make them shallower than this. You don't need them very big at all, and I've made them too big. But I seem to have recovered the situation, and that one's not too bad.